at the beginning of the 20th century, they call it colonialism. So around the 19th century, so around the 1800s, so many African countries start being colonized. And why are they now colonizing the African continent? It's because slavery has ended. So if they are to use non-slave labor, it means that their commodities will be much more expensive and they cannot sell them anywhere. So what, in terms of business, you have to look for another item where you can be able to reduce your cost. So where do you reduce your cost? It is in the resources. So colonialism was about slavery has ended. Now let's come and pick resources for a pittance. So you'll find that most colonial states in Africa were extractionist states. So they were just extracting these minerals or these resources for a pittance, for a song, so that their commodities may be cheap and they may come back and sell them, so that their industries may continue running. And mark you, just like slavery was 400 years, they had calculated that colonialism would last 200 years.
The thing that bound, I think, people together in those days, and I can't emphasize it too vividly for you, was this extraordinary sense we all had that we were creating something. The sense of making a country, placing it under British traditions and ideas, developing it, seeing the roads grow, the railways spread, and gradually the land tamed. That was a tremendous bringer together of the Europeans, and it gave them what nowadays we call a sense of mission. Well, people felt they were going to create another dominion like New Zealand. I remember coming out on the boat, the excitement of people. They felt they were making a new country, and that country would be part of the empire. Then they had a tremendous sense of mission, still fashioned today, but they felt that they had an imperial mission that was bringing something to Kenya, the British way of life.
In 1922, Churchill gave the settlers a promise. He said, "This land is yours, the settlers, in perpetuity, not only for you, for your children and your grandchildren."
So to them, colonialism was going to last maybe up to around the year 2100. But colonialism ends up being just a 70 years interlude. So because of this, African states get independence as from 1960s. Yes, but this doesn't end. They still control African states. So what's happening now? Right now, because they still want to get everything cheap, they want cheap labor, they want cheap resources. Yes, so what do? Just like it was during the days of slavery, when the masters had already established their plantations in the Caribbean, they went back, I'm using the British masters, they went back and left this land or these slaves in the hands of the slave masters. So the slave masters were even much more harsh compared to the slave owners. So there were a lot of cases, and that's why around from the 1700s, a lot of slave revolts break out in the Caribbean, in Haiti, in Cuba, in Jamaica. So many slave riots break out. Why? Because the slave masters are harsh. So what's happening right now? Right now we have slave masters who've been left over after colonialism. So our slave masters want to extract as much as possible from us so that they may send this money to the slave owners. So the issue is we are being treated as if we are in a plantation. Kenyans are being treated as if they're in a plantation. So the slave masters here they want to please the slave owners. Number two, remember during colonialism, they came in colonialism because they needed very, very cheap resources. They wanted to get the resources at a pittance. So what's happening now? The same thing. That's why you're hearing all these things about mining, the issues about the airports being sold, the issues about privatization of state farms, the issues of preferential treatment to certain goods I don't know, for EU, the issue of duty free, I don't know, to goods from Japan. The issue here is we are being treated as if right now we are back to colonialism. So what's happening here? They want the resources cheap. These so-called trade agreements, these so-called the GMOs and all that, everything, they're just doing things to please their slave masters. Then slaves are still being taken outside. That's why people, you find somebody has taken 4 years, studying 4 years or 5 years studying actuarial science, then he's being told that you have to go and change diapers from zungus in far places, very cold, very bad weather, just because somebody is claiming that at least so that you may take selfies, that you are in a plane and all that. That is crap. That is crap. Our national anthem says, "Plenty be found within our borders." So what's this plenty? There is plenty within our borders. Why should we go and slave ourselves outside? That because somebody has told us that, I don't know, they're going to pay your air ticket and stuff like that. So I just like to tell Kenyans, don't accept to be taken back to colonialism. Don't accept to be taken back to slavery. Nothing much has changed. So we have to get this knowledge to people and tell them that nothing much has changed. We have to push on and we have to fight. It's not going to be easy, but we have to fight. Remember that.